Two explanations that stick out to me in regards to the overrepresentation of African American students in special education are society and economics. Society comes into play when we look at decision makers, when we look at administration, even when we look at teachers. These are individuals, these are people with experiences, and all of them are unique. All of them have their own biases. Racism is not gone. We all have our preconceived ideas of others. Some of us act out on it more than others, but we're all entitled to that. But societally, you can see how racism is still an issue. We still tend to be very dismissive of minorities and of other cultures. And I think that's a detriment to diversity and especially, students growing up, kids that don't know any better, that are extremely innocent and don't know any better. Economically, you can see how lack of funding can affect schools on the local level and how it can affect, entire districts of schools. A lack of education can impact neighborhoods and families as well. When you cannot afford resources, books, technology, it creates a problem at home. It also creates a problem at school because these students are at a disadvantage, especially at home when you consider if a family is struggling financially, parents are more likely to be working multiple jobs and may not have as much time to spend with their students. And therefore, you can see how these students will struggle academically. Societally, it's important to remember that just because a student is struggling academically or is acting out in class consistently does not automatically mean that this student has a disability, learning disability, or emotional behavior disorder, or anything like that. However, I do like in the NPR podcast how Thomas Hare basically said that there needs to be more intervention early on for students, and that more students than we realize can benefit from individualized assistance. It doesn't necessarily mean that they need to go into special education as they discussed, not as a place, but as a method of assisting our students become better. And I like this because personally, I think special education is going to be huge in the next 20, 30 years, even, in the near future, in regards to education reform. Because, like I said, more students than we realize would benefit from support, whether they have a learning disability or not. It's important to remember that we want to educate our students the best we can, and all students deserve the same opportunities and privileges and assistance. So when I look at this situation, I can see how multiple issues can lead to staff assuming, that African American students require special education. And unrightful placement into special education hurts all students, because if a student doesn't need to go into special education, we're holding them back from their potential. Also, by putting students into special education that don't need to be, this takes away from the services that other students could be receiving, other students that actually would benefit from being placed into special education. And so for my partner, Shoshana, my question would be, it's a two-part question. First, what do you think can be done to address this issue? What do you think maybe one solution would be? And furthermore, when it comes down to creating change, do you think working through the system is better? Or do you think something like public activism would be better? Or maybe both, maybe a combination of both. So I'd like to see what you think on that. So yeah, I look forward to seeing your response.